Welcome back viewers, ladies, gentlemen, non-binaries and anyone with ears or other sound detection organs. Hope you enjoy. We are continuing with Going Native, written by Uncle Sealing. Going Native, Chapter 63. It was weird being inside the hotel. Merin didn't spend a lot of time here, since she normally was shadowing Sammy or doing data analysis. Aside from visiting the pool, which she hadn't done since the sauna incident, there wasn't much reason to be here. She turned right at the entrance and made her way toward the medical wing. All the males had apparently banded together and were hiding out in Stace's apartment, so that's where she was heading. She had never actually been there, but she had an open invite and now was the time to use it. She was surprised to find that Helcom Commando, the one with the facial scar, sitting on a folding chair in the medical office. She had a rifle across her lap and on top of it a large red box of candies. The woman was in the process of stuffing her mouth when Merin walked in, and she did an impressive juggling act to get up and to attention without spilling anything. Merin gestured with her hand and the Helcom relaxed, putting the candies on the seat behind her. Vesper, right? The commando nodded. Mind if I ask what you're up to? Guarding the door. Vesper shrugged. It isn't really necessary, but it makes the boys happy to know someone they trust is here. I don't mind it. And the candy? There's loads of it. Vesper gestured to the door that led to Stace's apartment. It's pretty crazy. Really makes you wonder if that sort of thing works. Just seems desperate to me. Merin nodded. She wasn't quite sure what the other woman meant, but that was okay. She knocked and, hearing a muffled yell from the other side, entered into the strange anarchy that was Stace's living room. The room was littered with piles of wrapped packages, cut flowers, and red and gold boxes of candy. It was like a trendy gift shop threw up all over the inside of an otherwise tasteful room. Askel and Samuel were there, sorting through the piles, and Merin was surprised to see Alice, her father-in-law, there with Ieng. He looked up and grinned at her entrance. Look out, boys. Merin's here. Alice's smile was warm and friendly, eyes twinkling. Here to help protect us. No, I just wanted to visit. What's all this stuff? Her attention was drawn to motion out of the corner of her eye. Whatever it was small and low to the ground but was gone as soon as she noticed it. Apparently Stace has made a name for himself. Lots of eligible young women looking to snag a husband. There was that motion again. Something small, tan-colored, coming straight for her. Merin felt her leg tense, preparing to punt the thing until it resolved into a tiny animal, a puffball no larger than her hand with a tiny black nose and dark eyes. It made a quiet, high-yipping noise and started playfully attacking her shoe. What is that thing? It was probably the single most masculine creature Merin had ever seen. It was about as threatening as a plate of waffles. A Pomeranian, I think. Samuel was grinning. Someone sent her to Stace. It's so cute. Alice clapped his hands and the little puff ran over to him. The male picked it up and let it lick his face. Who's a cute little puggy? It's you. Yes, you are. Puppy, Sam corrected. A pug is a different type of dog. And the rest of this? Merin gestured at the drift piles of candy, the potted plants. The expensive-looking packages. It's been coming in by the van load. Ieng shrugged. I guess the people Stace saved felt really grateful. We're sorting it out for him. Where is he? Back in his bedroom. Askel held up his Omnipod. I'm keeping track of his vitals. He hasn't been doing too well since we got back from the hospital. He's got a mild sedative, some hot cocoa, and a few novels to read. And how are you two doing? Merin took in Askel and Samuel with one sweep of her eyes. Jelsai sent Ella a message. She wants personal security for every male here after what happened. We're holding up. Askel shrugged, but he didn't look quite together. A bit haggard. Just need some time away from, yeah. He gave Merin an apologetic smile. She understood what he meant in a sudden burst of insight, and her skin began to heat with embarrassment. I'm sorry. I can go. No, it's okay. The Helcom gave her a soft smile. I know you're safe. I told you. Alice put the puppy down and it ran off to sniff at some boxes. I would never have let Ian marry her if Merin wasn't good people. Dad, you didn't let me marry anybody. I told you we were getting married. Ian crossed his arms and tried to stare down his father. You didn't get a say in it. Well, technically I raised you, so any decision you make reflects on what I taught you. Alice's arms crossed the same way. So you approving of her means that I approved by proxy. A laugh rocked Samuel's slight frame. Those two have been at it all day. Merin moved a few boxes and took a seat on the couch next to Ieng, wrapping an arm around him and pulling her husband close. He made a surprised squeak before snuggling up tight. So, aside from a small animal, anything else interesting gets sent this way? Alice lifted his omnipod. I've been keeping track of who sent what so we can write appropriate thank you letters. Lots of candy, some jewelry that's just my style but definitely not Stace's, the puggy. His thin finger delicately flicked at the screen. All those bouquets of cut flowers, of course. Some beautiful clothing that probably won't fit since Stace has womanly shoulders. 1 Murray Wenner plant, 3 mint plants, a Celestine microtree that's undoubtedly illegal to have on Earth, 32 offers of marriage, 47 offers of a more carnal nature, though there's a lot of overlap there. I think I get the idea. A tugging on Merin's ankle caught her attention. That little animal had a hold of one of her boot clasps in its tiny mouth and was trying desperately to overcome the strength of the fasteners. She leaned forward and scooped it up with one hand. It couldn't have weighed more than a kilogram. Has Stace seen this thing yet? Not yet, though he might have heard her. We were debating whether or not we should wait to show him. Samuel had a sheepish grin on his face. It's generally considered really damn rude to gift somebody a pet they will feel obligated to take care of, but I think Stace won't mind. Askel got up from his perch on one of the kitchen chairs he had dragged in and peeked into Stace's bedroom. He's asleep. With a book on his face. Ieng let out a little giggle. Perfect. Alice had never seen Stace's bedroom, but honestly he was impressed. Once he had a chance to get used to the rugged style that the humans seemed to prefer, he could admit that it was a well-thought-out room. He recognized it as a sort of reinterpretation of the cabin that Ieng had sent pictures of. He stood back and watched as the rest of the little group came in, Ieng holding the puppy in his hands. His wives had said no more pets, but considering how cute and tiny the thing was, Alice was sure he could change their minds. Maybe they came in trendier colors. The human was laying in his bed. It was a proper Shilvati bed, which meant Stace looked small and frail in the huge thing. Plenty of space for a wife or three to snuggle up with. Ieng plopped the puppy on the bed, then took out his omnipod to record a video as she jumped around in her new soft playground. Alice watched with one eye as he slowly slipped to the back of the room. This was a perfect time to do a little snooping. The dresser drawer was surprisingly quiet as he slid it open, though he wasn't. Thankfully, nobody noticed his little yelp of surprise. The puppy had managed to climb on top of Stace and the human was just starting to realize that something was going on, providing the perfect distraction. Alice had time to look at the guns. Oddly enough, after what had happened at the bar, the Shilvati was startled, but he wasn't really bothered. Of course Stace would have guns. He had been living out in the dangerous wilderness and needed to protect his family. It was just, well, Alice had never even touched a weapon or any kind. He was tempted to reach in and pull one out, but that could be a catastrophically bad idea. Maybe Stace could give him lessons. Some male bonding, human style. He slid the drawer closed and started on the next one, getting it opened only a couple of centimeters before a whispered voice stopped him. Alice. Marian was glaring at him, so he obligingly slid the drawer back closed. Spoil sport. She beckoned with her arm and he obediently moved up to the bed. Stace seemed enamored with the little animal. He was picking it up and tossing it gently backwards to a spot on the bed between his spread legs. Well, leg and a half. The puppy would run back up into his hands and he would toss it again. Whose pup is this? Stace seemed so excited, so happy. It was a refreshing contrast compared to what Alice had seen when the boys got back from the hospital. Yours, care of, somebody. I'd have to look it up. Samuel grinned. More presents have been coming in. Stace's smile filled his whole face, skin around his mismatched eyes crinkling. She's going to need a name. I think the lady already has a name. It's on the card that came with the dog. That was Samuel. He seemed nice, and Alice knew he was friends with Ieng. They got on well together, and whatever trouble the boys had gotten into at the hospital seemed to have washed away after some time spent socializing. You know what I meant. Of course, what Alice really wanted to do is look around some more. It was his first time on Earth, Stace was a new friend he needed to get to know better, and, well, he was nosy. It was a well-documented fact. Unfortunately, Marian was keeping an eye on him, so he was stuck near the bed. There wasn't too much interesting there. There was a medical monitor, some blankets, and a bright blue strip of leather wrapped around the bedpost near Stace's head. Alice hadn't worn a collar in years. It had been trendy in his youth at some nightclubs and he could remember going out to dance with Rena and Therese. He flicked it gently with one finger until he could see the bright silver tag riveted to the leather, loved by Daniel, Ieng, and Ella. Ha! I thought you gave up smoking? Toral's voice was more curious than patronizing. Jelsai had been acting weird since that incident at the bar. I did. Jelsai took a final drag on her herbal whatever and smashed out the stub in a disposable food container. She hadn't looked up from her display screens. They were covered in photos of various women, security camera footage, spreadsheets, just a tangle of information Toral really couldn't follow. I also thought you were planning on moving out of our compound and taking up residence at the painter facility. That got Jelsai's attention. I never told you that. No, but it's obvious. Toral grinned. The curse of Chelsea got you. You're starting to go human. I am not. Jelsai pulled another cylinder from the pack and lit it. I am trying to come up with how to protect our investment. You mean Stace? Jelsai's reaction was immediate. Toral found herself stepping back as the woman swung her arm across the table, knocking empty food containers and assorted half-filled mugs to the floor. She slammed both of her fists onto the table hard enough that Toral thought she heard the native wood actually crack. Yes, I mean Stace. Stace and Eskel and Samuel and Ieng and all of them. Jelsai was breathing hard, her eyes shining. Stace saved my life, and in the end I couldn't even protect that group of guys from getting sexually assaulted by idle little shits while they were stuck in a hospital room. Samuel did more to help than I could. Toral stepped forward again and put a hand on her sister-in-law's shoulder. It's all right. We'll get it all sorted. They are safe now. She looked at the screens again. These are the ones. Not sure yet. Jelsai seemed to calm down a little as she turned back to the screens. I know everybody who was in the bar, and the hospital was more than happy to give me the hallway security camera footage. Right now I'm trying to figure out which of these cunts actually went into the room. Narrowing it down. Doesn't sound that hard, honestly. It shouldn't be. Jelsai went to press out her smoke, only to find that she had knocked all her potential ashtrays to the floor. With a sigh, Jelsai stood up from her seat and started picking up the mess. The problem is that Stace is famous now. The bar security video has been going around, and more than half of the people at the hospital weren't at the bar, possibly don't have any connection at all. It's making things more difficult if I want to keep this little side project quiet. Toral nodded. What will you do when you find the women involved? They are probably all nobles or high-ranking military brats or the like. You won't be able to move openly. I'm sure I'll think of something. At the very least, I'll know who to blacklist from visiting the painter facility. At worst, well. Jelsai gave Toral a tired smile. When you run a fine-toothed comb through somebody's life, who knows what sort of nits will get dragged out into the light. Jessica's new apartment was horribly empty, but it was hers. She had a bed and a desk and a single chair, which meant tomorrow she was going to go into Durango for some furniture shopping. If she could find the time. At this point, she was happy to just have a place to crash. It took all day for the Shilvati techs with their hovering cranes to get the hotel upgraded. Now both she and Commander REM had their own apartments. There were another 20 human-sized rooms, plus a gym and bigger laundry facility. She also had to get catering set up for the new workers, make sure they had enough clean sheets. It was almost 2 in the morning and she needed rest. Jessica stood in her new kitchen, enjoying a pre-bed beer in her underwear when she heard a soft, tentative knock on her door. It was so quiet she wasn't sure she heard it. When she popped the door open, foregoing the peephole, she was surprised to see Eskel standing there. His face was damp, and those eyes, green from edge to edge, were puffy from crying. His soft-looking blue pajamas were rumpled and in his arms was his leather jacket wrapped around a pillow. He didn't say anything, just stood there looking miserable. Jessica reached out, taking him gently by the arm. "What's going on?" He looked awful, his grey skin flat, hair oily. "Couldn't sleep." He let out a little sniff. "Nightmares." "Well, come on. Let's get you relaxed." Jessica guided him into the apartment and closed the door. It was only then that she remembered that she was in her underwear, but considering Eskel hadn't seemed to have noticed, she decided it was better to not bring it up. He needed affection more than she needed her modesty. The Helcom seemed sort of stunned. She took his pillow and put it on her chair, then led him gently by the hand towards the bathroom. "I don't want to. I mean I want to, but I'm not ready." Eskel's face flushed the color of charcoal and his eyes were downcast. "I know, it's okay. We're not going to do anything sexy. At least not tonight. Definitely the wrong time for that. We're going to get in the tub with some bubble bath and cuddle, then we'll go to bed. I'll keep you nice and warm and safe, don't worry." Eskel's head bobbed up and down in a nod. "Okay." That earned the little guy a hug, and he let himself be led into the bathroom. Jessica had kept the Shilvati-size extra-large tub when she designed the apartment, and soon the room was full of steam and the pleasant lavender smell of the bubble bath. She gently, carefully began the job of undressing her boy. Eskel was slim and slight, his grey skin broken up with patches of glossy black scales. Not overly muscular, just thin and soft. She slipped off his shirt, then guided his hands to the clasp on her bra. They were strangely cool, fingertips silk smooth. They both giggled as he struggled with the fasteners before she took over. Jessica made a point of not looking as she pulled down his pants, and after he did the same with her panties she led him into the tub. In a few moments, they were situated. Jessica had her little Helcom sitting in her lap in the warm water, purring pleasantly as she gently scrubbed his scales with a loofah and ran her fingers through his hair. They didn't say anything, didn't have to say anything, and when they were done, clean and dry, entwined in Jessica's bed, their sleep was deep and full of pleasant dreams. End of chapter. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss any episode and do all the other YouTube stuff, visit and support the author, and I'll see you next time. If you didn't enjoy, comment on what I can do better. And as usual, have a wonderful day.